There's three primary issues for which there were differences. First one regarded the representation of the legislature. The current representation was based on equal representation in the states, and some were in favor of maintaining that, whereas others wanted the people to be directly represented proportional to the size of the population. Ultimately, this was a very divisive issue, but they eventually reached a compromise where one chamber would represent the states equally and the other chamber would represent the people directly. The second issue was the extent to which the national government had powers relative to the state governments. Now, all the delegates wanted to increase sort of the power of the national government, which is extremely weak under the Articles of Confederation, but some delegates only wanted to increase its minimally, whereas others wanted to increase the powers of the national government substantially. In particular, some even wanted to allow the national government to nullify state laws, which ultimately did not make it into the Constitution. Finally, a third issue that was involved was the balance of power between the various branches of the national government, the legislative, judicial, and the executive, including the selection of the executive and how independent the executive would be from the other branches. Well, in particular, the debates over the role of the national government versus the states are very much alive. What we see today is a lot of discussion of, to the extent, what role should the federal government play in the politics? What would surprise people is they think that the framers had a particular view in mind, and they were actually as divided about it as we are today. And it was actually some of the first of political divisions that occur once the Constitution came into effect. And so what we hope from this book is to sort of explore those differences and explain how those are still relevant toward contemporary politics. We often talk about politicians as being liberal, moderate, or conservative, and those differences are reflected in these models with the extension based on additional mathematical assumptions that not only do we describe those relative differences, but also assign numerical valuations that give some representation of ideological distance. Well, the center offers a unique opportunity both sort of academically and pragmatically. On the academic side, there are a number of American scholars from a variety of disciplines that give us perspective that we wouldn't normally get in such a narrow subfield in the study of politics. And so it really informs our studies in a way that we would not have the opportunity otherwise. On the pragmatic side, the debates that the framers have particular relevance in contemporary politics because people hold them in such high regard, and the Constitution and the wording of the Constitution plays such a role in contemporary politics that we always have to keep in mind sort of what the public policy implications of these debates are, and the center is a perfect environment for maintaining that perspective.